The story now moves forward from a place where trust is almost gone. After what happened in episode 13, the tension is no longer hidden. Every character is carrying pressure, and you can feel that something is about to explode. The way the last episode ended, it didn't give answers, it created more questions. Why did certain characters stay quiet when they should have spoken? Why did others suddenly change their tone? These are not random moments. They are signals that something deeper is going on beneath the surface. Episode 14 begins with that same heavy feeling. The environment itself feels different, almost darker, like the story is slowly closing in on its biggest turning point. Characters who once seemed strong are now showing cracks. You can see it in their decisions, in the way they talk, and even in the way they avoid eye contact. It's no longer about right or wrong, it's about survival, and everyone is starting to realize that. What makes this part of the story even more interesting is how the relationships are shifting. People who once stood together are now unsure about each other. There's hesitation, doubt, and even fear. And at the same time, some unexpected connections are starting to form. These new alliances may look small right now, but they could become very important as the story moves forward. Another thing that stands out is how carefully the story is revealing its secrets. Nothing is being told directly. Instead, we are being shown small moments, short lines of dialogue, and quiet reactions that slowly build the bigger picture. This kind of storytelling makes everything feel more real, because the audience has to think, has to connect the dots. And that makes every reveal more powerful. As episode 14 starts to unfold, it becomes clear that no one is fully in control anymore. Plans are starting to fail, emotions are getting stronger, and the line between friend and enemy is becoming blurry. This is the kind of situation where even one small mistake can change everything. And the characters know it. That's why every move they make now feels careful, almost calculated, but at the same time, you can sense that they are running out of time. The tension keeps building slowly, not through big action, but through silence, through looks, through the feeling that something is about to go wrong at any moment. And that is what makes this episode so important. It's not just about what happens, it's about what is about to happen. The setup is complete, the pieces are in place, and now the story is ready to push everything to the edge. By the time this section of the episode settles, one thing becomes very clear. Nothing will stay the same after this. Every decision from here will have a cost, and not everyone will be ready to pay it. The events of the previous episode didn't just move the story forward, they quietly rearranged everything underneath it. What looked like simple conversations were actually loaded with meaning. And now, in this part, those moments begin to show their true weight. The aftermath is not loud or chaotic at first, but it carries a deep tension that feels impossible to ignore. Every character is reacting in their own way, but none of them are untouched by what has already happened. The most noticeable shift comes from how people are now choosing their words more carefully. There is a clear sense that everyone knows more than they are saying. Silence has become just as important as dialogue, and in some moments, even more powerful. A pause, a glance, or a delayed response feels like it carries hidden truth. It creates a feeling that something important is being held back, and that makes every interaction feel heavier. At the same time, the pressure is building in a very controlled way. No one is losing control completely, but you can see how close they are to that point. Decisions are being made faster now, and sometimes without full trust. This is where the story becomes more dangerous, because rushed decisions often lead to mistakes. And in a situation like this, even a small mistake can have serious consequences. What makes this part stand out is how the story focuses on emotional tension instead of action. The conflict is not always visible, but it is always present. You can feel it in the way characters stand around each other, the way they avoid certain topics, and the way they react when something unexpected is said. It creates a slow burning intensity that keeps building without needing dramatic scenes. There is also a growing sense of isolation among the characters. Even when they are together, they don't feel united anymore. Everyone seems to be dealing with their own thoughts, their own fears, and their own plans. This distance is important because it shows how trust is starting to break down. When people stop trusting each other, they start acting alone, and that is when things usually begin to fall apart. Another important detail in this part is how certain characters are starting to take more control. Not in an obvious way, but through small actions and quiet decisions. These are the moments that can easily be missed, but they are setting up something bigger. A simple choice, a change in attitude, or even a shift in tone can be the beginning of a major turning point. As this section continues, it becomes clear that the story is moving towards something unavoidable. There is a direction now, even if it is not fully revealed yet. The pieces are slowly coming together, and the characters are being pushed closer to a situation where they will have to face the truth, whether they are ready or not. The most powerful part of this section is how it keeps everything controlled while still raising the tension. Nothing explodes yet, nothing fully breaks, but you can feel that it's coming. The story is holding back on purpose, building the pressure little by little, so that when something finally happens, it will have a much stronger impact. By the end of this part, the mood has clearly changed. The story no longer feels uncertain, it feels focused. The direction is becoming sharper, the risks are becoming clearer, and the characters are slowly being pushed into positions where they will have to make choices that cannot be undone. As the story moves deeper into this phase, the focus begins to shift toward the hidden motives that have been quietly shaping everything from the beginning. What once felt like random actions now starts to connect in a way that feels intentional. Characters are no longer just reacting to situations, they are revealing parts of themselves that were carefully kept out of sight. This change adds a new layer to the story, where every move feels more personal and more dangerous at the same time. One of the most striking developments in this part is how truth starts to surface, but never in a complete or clear way. Instead of full revelations, we get fragments. Small pieces of information come out through indirect conversations, tense exchanges, and moments where emotions slip through control. These fragments are enough to raise suspicion, but not enough to provide certainty. This creates a powerful sense of unease because both the characters and the audience are left trying to understand what is real and what is being hidden. The emotional pressure continues to rise, but now it begins to affect decisions more directly. Characters who were once calm and calculated are starting to act based on instinct. This shift is important because instinct is unpredictable. It can lead to bold moves, but it can also lead to serious mistakes. The balance between control and emotion is breaking, and that makes every situation feel more fragile. At the same time, power is quietly changing hands. It is not happening through open conflict, but through influence, timing, and awareness. Some characters are beginning to understand more than others, and that knowledge gives them an advantage. They don't need to act loudly, because their strength comes from knowing when to act. These subtle shifts in power are easy to miss, but they are shaping the direction of everything that follows. There is also a noticeable change in how trust is being tested. It is no longer about whether someone is loyal or not, but about how far that loyalty can go. Characters are being pushed into situations where they have to choose between their own survival and their connection to others. These choices are not simple, and they don't come with clear answers. That is what makes them so powerful, because every decision carries weight, and every outcome has consequences. Another key element in this part is the growing sense that time is running out. The story begins to move with more urgency, even in quiet moments. There is a feeling that something is approaching, something that cannot be avoided. This sense of urgency changes the way characters behave. They start to take risks they would normally avoid, and they begin to reveal sides of themselves that were previously hidden. The environment around them also starts to reflect this tension. Scenes feel tighter, conversations feel shorter, and the space between characters feels heavier. It is as if everything is closing in, creating a situation where there is no easy escape. This adds to the overall pressure, making every moment feel more intense without needing dramatic action. What makes this section stand out is how it builds complexity without losing clarity. Even though more questions are being raised, the direction of the story feels stronger. The audience can sense that all of these small,